So thank you, everybody, for joining. This is an incredibly important topic. When Ed started this group a few years ago, we focused on money in politics and voting rights, and it has evolved to the presentation that Ed has been doing the last couple of meetings. This meeting is about what could happen if the ultra-conservatives are able to take control in the November election. This Project 2025 is a legitimate document. It's like 900 pages that Ed will be explaining. And one thing I want to say to everybody is this is not conjecture. This is truth. Believe everything you hear because it's all written down. So Ed, go ahead and get started.
Thank you, Jim. I'm going to share screen and show the slides that will cover the material that we have in hand today. So I hope you see the slides. Is that correct? Yes? Okay. We're going to talk about Project 2025, what it is, why we should care about it, and how it embodies a platform for a possible Republican administration, what their plans to implement that platform is, and what the risks are associated. And then, we always have to have, I always have to have a call to action. The call to action today is kind of obvious, but it's got to be reiterated. So Project 2025, it's a plan that's been produced primarily by the Heritage Foundation, which is a right-wing think tank. But they have called in every right-wing organization you can think of to cooperate and contribute and support this plan. And in essence, it really just detailed every right-wing wish that anybody on the far right has wanted to implement, with the intention of implementing all those things in a second Trump presidency. It includes a very long platform, which, as I said, contains everything the people on the right have ever wanted. More importantly, it includes a team of administrative officials who are ready and willing to step in to become part of a Trump administration, a GOP administration, and to implement the plans we're talking about. It also includes a set of ready-to-go executive orders that would be available to be implemented on day one. I mean, we've heard the GOP candidate talk about what he wants to do on day one. The point is that the last time Trump didn't really kind of expect to win, and a lot of people didn't think he'd win, and they weren't really ready. Well, this time they understand he could win, and this time they're getting all their ducks lined up so they know exactly what they want to do, exactly how they would do it, exactly who would do it, and they're ready to go if they win. And why should we care about these guys? Well, Trump didn't write this plan. Of course, Trump couldn't write any plan, really. He supported many things you find in this plan. But the point is that Trump, as a politician, can easily be manipulated. Let me give you an example. Whatever Congress sends him, he's going to sign. The example I can give you is when he ran the first time, he talked a lot about tax loopholes and how tax loopholes are a bad thing because they allow high earners to not pay all they should. And he said, and I know about them because I use them, because I'm a high earner and I take advantage of these tax loopholes. So I know what they are. And only I can stop it because I use them. I know what they are. I use them. But you know what? He didn't stop it. the GOP Congress sent him a tax bill that made the loopholes even bigger, and he just gladly signed it. The point is that he can be manipulated into doing anything that the people on the right want to do. And when the people on the right realize that, they say, oh man, we've got this guy. We can push him to do all this great stuff. We can help him do it. We can show him how to do it. We can get the right people in there to help him do it. Uh, that's that's exactly what Project 2025 is all about. It's about taking advantage of a Trump presidency to accelerate all the right wing wish list items. And if he returns to power, he's already said he'll gladly accept their help. He'll gladly take their group of people they want to help him. He knows that in the last time he had people in his administration who blocked what he wanted to do, and he has said, I know I shouldn't have had some of these people in there. I tried to get rid of them. I got rid of some of them, but this time he wants to get rid of them all at the outset and only bring in Trump loyalists. So he's going to accept the help that the Project 2025 has brought forth. So, and that's because he understands that what he tried to do last time was stopped by what he calls the deep state. He says he knows he had the wrong kind of people in his administration, and the staffing recommendations here in Project 2025 will probably be accepted by a Trump administration. They'll be happy to have his help, and the ready-to-go executive orders could be embraced by Trump. So whereas last time he wasn't really ready, and the GOP wasn't really ready to stand behind him because they didn't really expect him to win, this time they understand he can win, and this time they're ready to go. They have everything lined up, and they know everything they want to do. So we need to pay attention to that. Now, when you look at Project 2025, it has three parts. It's got a platform, it's got people, it's got methodology. And I want to talk to you some about the platform. Now, before I start on this, I'm going to say I really don't think the platform is the most important part here. The platform includes, it's 900 pages long. It includes everything everybody in the right would ever want, and it goes through every department of the government. Now, I looked through carefully the first 9 or 10 here. You see defense, security, state, agriculture, education, energy, and frankly, I really ran out of energy looking at every one of them. There's another 20 I didn't look at in depth. But in the long run, I think what you're going to see is that this laundry list of all the stuff I want to do isn't the most important point. But let's look through it and see what they have in mind. Okay, so one of the most important parts of this is how they want to handle personnel, the people who run our agencies. The idea that they bring forth is that when a president is elected, he has to be able to implement all of his policies, and that his appointments, the direction he gives to people, and the removal he might make of prior people are central elements of his ability to implement his policy. In many cases, these people want to move much closer to a market model for federal pay and benefits, which is kind of a problem because the market model assumes that we're in this to pay as little as possible to people and maximize corporate profit. Well, the government's not a corporation. Are we interested in maximizing corporate government income at the expense of the salaries we pay to people, or should we pay people salaries that get us the best people? And one of the things he wants to do is implement a new civil service schedule, Schedule F, that would allow him to replace civil servants and replace them with Trump loyalists. This is his attack on the deep, what he calls, many on the right call, the deep state. I look at that term and I say, well, the deep state, these are the professional administrators who know how to run our agencies and how to run them in compliance with our laws. But when you replace uh, a 500,000 of those people, or 50,000 of those people with Trump loyalists, are they actually going to run our departments in compliance with our laws and for the benefit of the country or for the benefit of the party or the fellow? So when you look at the Department of Defense, um, he points the Department of Defense inward to work on border security, and that's not something our Department of Defense has really ever done. Our Department of Defense has been focused on outward threats, not our inward problems. He wants to end congressional approval of weapons sales so that the administration can sell what they want to, whoever. He wants to uh, require all students in any school that receives any federal funding, which is most of our colleges, to uh, require all students to undergo a military entrance examination, so that all students would be solicited to join the military. He's looking that anyone who has any gender dysphoria, that is, anyone who is not comfortable with their birth gender, who feels the need to take control of their own lives in terms of their gender, that those people should be expelled from the military. There's a significant number of people in our military. He wants to ensure that there's no social engineering agenda in our military, that the military shouldn't be concerned about social justice within their ranks. And I'll tell you, our military is concerned about social justice within the ranks because they know that's how to keep peace within our ranks. And these folks are telling the military, no, you don't know how to run a military. We do, which is nonsense. Uh, they want to reinstate service members who refuse to take the COVID vaccine. Um, they want to, and this is a really amazing one. They want to eliminate Marxist indoctrination and CRT in the way we train our military, as if to say our generals don't understand how to train our military. We understand how to train our military, which is the height of hubris. Uh, they want to, once again, they want to remove Marxist indoctrination, eliminate tenure for professionals in our Department of Defense. They want to reverse policies that allow transgender individuals to serve. They decide that gender dysphoria is incompatible, and the use of public monies for transgender surgeries is inappropriate. And who are they to decide this? Let our military leaders decide this instead of somebody on the far right deciding what our military thinks is the right thing to do to build a military that is supportive of the people who wish to volunteer to be part of our military. They want to audit all curriculum, to remove anything they think is inappropriate. And the bottom line here is that these folks, they don't agree with the way our senior military leaders are running our military, and they think they know better how to run our military, and they're going to force them to do it the right way, which is just ridiculous. I mean, these guys don't run the military. They don't have any experience with how our people in the military feel about things, what kind of support they need, how we can support the volunteers that run our armed forces. So I find that all very discouraging. Let's move on to Homeland Security. They actually want to get rid of the Department of Homeland Security, and they want to sidestep Senate approval for the leadership of Homeland Security. They want to place nominees for key positions as acting, and have them act without going through the senatorial or congressional approval process. And that they want to do that because then they feel on day one they can implement the new policies without the problems of trying to make sure that the Senate approves of what they're doing. Further, they want to sidestep the Civil Service Administration in favor of political appointees. They've specifically said when a career civil service employee is in a leadership position, that position should be deemed vacant. That position should be sidestepped. And the next eligible political appointee in sequence should assume acting authority so that the professionals who know how to run our government in compliance with our laws and in constancy with policy from administration to administration, these folks should be shoved aside so that the political appointees can just do Trump's bidding immediately. That's what they have in mind for Homeland Security. Further, they want to eliminate some visa forms. There's a visa that's available for people who have been trafficking, and it's a temporary benefit that allows people who have been trafficked to stay in the country for up to 4 years. They want to replace the temporary protected status that we provide to certain nations where there's been violence, when there's been a need for providing refuge to people. These statuses give people the right to live and work in the U.S. while their situation is being worked out. It's not permanent. This program was established by Congress as a humanitarian solution. And these folks just want to get rid of all of that. They don't really care about our concerns for humanitarian assistance to the people around us, which to me is even more important as climate change and as political instability push the nations around us to be more and more unstable. These people are saying, we don't want to help these people. Whereas I think the Congress has indicated we should help them. And I think that the majority of people in the U.S. think we should provide some assistance to people in need. They're just out to end it all. They want all unaccompanied children returned to their home countries. And what they say is a safe and efficient manner. Right now, many unaccompanied minors are placed in our country with a family member who's already here. I mean, they call them illegal alien family members. I really dislike the term illegal alien because anybody who's here and we've decided they can remain here while they are appealing their asylum request, they're here legally while they appeal their asylum request. And when unaccompanied minors come in and we can place them with a family member from the same family in our country, why not do that instead of just sending them back to the country in question where they could face real danger? They want the Secretary of Homeland Security just waive legal requirements that Congress has placed through Title VIII, and the Secretary, in his sole discretion, should determine whether these congressional mandates apply or not. And they want the Department of Defense to assist in defending our border. We don't generally use our military within our country. And these people are determined that they're going to use the military within our country to implement the policies that they wish. This stuff goes on and on. I'm going to keep going. Department of State, once again, they want to sidestep Senate approval of members by putting them in as active. They want to place political appointees in positions that do not require Senate confirmation. Senior advisors, principal deputy assistants, deputy secretaries. And given the size of the department, there's a number of opportunities for them to increase the political appointees. And the important point there is they're fostering political ambassadors. We have a strong personal relationship with the president, not a policy relationship, not a party relationship, but a personal relationship. And we've seen in the past that this president prioritizes personal loyalty over and above policy, over and above even the Constitution. So pushing our Department of State to the point where our ambassadors all have personal loyalty over competence, over experience or character. Personal loyalty to Trump is the most important thing that they want to push. That's very worrisome. Uh, let's look at the Department of Agriculture. Um, what they say here is, let's stop talking about climate change. Let's stop talking about renewable energy. Let's stop talking about systemic racism. These are all problems we face, and they want to just ignore them all. They want to reduce the school lunch program, restrict it to school days only, so that if people need nutritional assistance when they're in school, fine, but when they're out of school, we don't care. They want to eliminate soil conservation. They want to reduce protections for wetlands. They want to weaken meat inspection standards. They want to do a whole bunch of things that make business profit higher by reducing protections for our people and in investments in our people. Eliminate dietary guidelines. Eliminate labeling of genetically modified foods. That's what they want to do in the area of our agriculture. And I just can't believe that most of our population is in favor of most of those. I know that people that run agricultural companies might be in favor of all of this, and that goes right along with what we see with the GOP overall. They're in favor of supporting what's good for business and not what's good for you and me. But that's what you see here, as far as I see it. Look at the Department of Education. They just want to get rid of it. They want to implement policies that Friedman established in 55, where the education is publicly funded, but all education decisions are made by families, which means to say that you can use tax dollars as you wish, whether or not that's really in the benefit of the society as a whole. They want to see every parent, should they have the option, direct his or her child's share of educational fundings through educational savings accounts. And I have a position on this myself. My position is, if you are paying taxes and you want your taxes to be redistributed to some other school, maybe that's okay. But there's a lot of people who pay taxes for education, such as myself. I pay educational taxes, of course, but I don't have kids in school. And I don't want the taxes I pay to be redirected by you to the private education you want, because I think that the public education that we all support is more important. So this ability to redirect your portion of the portion that would be provided to your child isn't just your money, it's my money too. And I think that those of us who are putting money into the school system should have equal say, as well as parents, as to where that money goes. They want to restrict the way people think about sex. They want to restrict the way people think about faith, and they really want to eliminate the protections we have in place in these areas for our students. Look at the Department of Energy, the way they see it. We have a war on oil and gas. I mean, we're doing this because we understand climate change, but they think that climate change, green subsidies should have nothing to do with our energy policies. They think energy efficiency standards should have nothing to do with our energy policies. They think that all we should do is pump as much gas and oil as we can and make energy as cheap as possible. And they think that infrastructure investments, establishing new programs that invest in green technologies or in renewable technologies, should all be ended. And they want to see that customers have affordable, reliable electricity, natural gas, and oil, no matter how it's produced, with no consideration for what they say are progressive causes, such as saving our environment, saving our planet, reducing our dependence on fossil fuels, improving our efficiency in use of fossil fuels, um, and they want to eliminate the Clean Energy Corps, which is a taxpayer-funded program that helps people learn how to deploy solutions to climate change. Uh, Once again, it's just something that will help the energy industry uh, continue to pollute our atmosphere, continue to be not concerned about what we're doing to our planet. They have great disregard for the EPA. Um, they see the EPA as an assault on the energy sector, very similar to what you've just seen. The regulations about coal, oil, and gas operations that we implement in order to make them stop damaging our environment, they're just too expensive. They're increasingly inaccessible from their point of view. They don't want to force our economy to build out and rely what they consider to be unrenewable, unreliable renewable resources. They want to reverse the approaches that have been applied to pesticides and chemicals. They want to ensure that the structure emission is circumcised to reflect their principles of cooperative federalism and limited government, which are things that will go against everything we all want to do to help preserve our environment and preserve the future of our environment for our children. Look at HHS. Their goals in HHS are protect life from the moment of conception, which really damages a lot of things that are very helpful to people, such as IVFs. They want to completely deregulate health insurance so that people can be scammed by health insurance. They want to limit CDC's health guidance. This stuff just goes on and on and on. Every portion I look at is just full of all the most extreme right-wing stuff you can imagine. Restore ethics advisory to oversee abortion-derived fetal tissue so that we can't use those tissues to improve our research on cancer, our research on aging. They want to end intramural research from using tissue from aborted children. They want to implement a plan to pursue and fund what they call ethical alternative methods of research to ensure that abortion and embryo destructive research cell lines are taken out of our science, but that is in fact one of the major approaches that our science has been using. They really want to push the privatization of Medicare Advantage, which has really enriched our insurance companies. Once again, every place you look, and I got to tell you, after all that stuff I looked at and looked at, there's 20 more areas I'm going to look at. I'd had enough. I wasn't going to go in depth in the next 20 areas because I know that they're all just every damn wish list you can imagine across our entire government. And while all you've just heard is so discouraging and so important, it isn't the most important thing I want to talk to you about tonight. The most important thing I want to talk to you tonight is how they intend to do it, what their plans are to implement those platform planks. No matter what you think about all those platforms, the real problem is how they intend to implement them. So just reviewing some of the things we just talked about, some of the things that went past, some of them implementing Schedule F to allow Trump to remove the civil servants who have professionally run our government through both Democratic and Republican administrations, implementing our laws as Congress has implemented them, and replace all those people with Trump loyalists, eliminating tenure for academic professionals in our military, sidestepping Senate approval, sidestepping civil service administrators in favor of political appointees. The fact that that they want their secretaries to have authority to waive legal requirements that Congress has put forward, the fact that they want to place political appointees in positions that do not require Senate approval. They want political ambassadors with a strong personal relationship with the president. This whole, what they want to do, how they plan to do this, just sidesteps things we have put in place in the past to prevent the abuse of presidential power. The most important thing here for us is that what they want to do is weaken protections that we have against abuse of power. We put a number of protections in place after Nixon, after Watergate, after Nixon abuses his presidential power, strengthening congressional oversight, strengthening the civil service. Many things were put in place after Watergate in a bipartisan manner to ensure that presidents could not abuse their power the way Richard Nixon did. And those protections are what the GOP wants to eliminate now so that they can implement these policies without congressional approval, without judicial approval on day one. You've heard them say, I will only be a dictator on day one. Well, on day one, they have all this stuff lined up and they want to slam this stuff all down, eliminating the protections we have. And to me, for obvious reasons, Trump has already demonstrated his desire to abuse presidential power. If we were to allow him to enter office and at the same time allow him to circumvent all the guardrails we have against abuse of presidential power, that would be just I can't imagine why we as a country would give him those powers, would say, okay, whatever you want to do, go right ahead and do it. All the things we put in place to prevent abuse of power, don't worry about it. Go ahead, abuse your power as much as you wish. The risks of doing that are obvious. Come on, the guy's already in court over a bunch of stuff he tried to do last time that were all abuse of presidential power. And he's currently promising to use the DOJ to indict his opponents. He's saying, what he's saying is that Biden indicted him, which is nonsense. Biden didn't indict him. In the states indicted him. Independent prosecutors indicted him. But he's using that as an excuse to turn the DOJ into his personal vendetta. Many of the lawyers who assisted him are facing disbarment. He is justifying the political violence that occurred on January 6th. Come on now. Putting him back in office while eliminating the guardrails against his power would be just disastrous. I can't imagine why we would do that. How can we imagine doing that? I mean, the call to action is obvious. These people are telling us exactly what they will do should they win the next election. They will remove restraints on presidential abuse of power. They will push to implement all their extreme right-wing policies. They will sidestep congressional approval. They will sidestep the civil service to do it. And not to mention that they will use the DOJ to attack their political opponents. They're telling us what they're going to do. And Trump is most certainly going to go along with all these plans. We have to believe them. They're telling us what we're going to do. We have to believe them. We have to stop them. And that is why this election is so very important. And that's my message to you today. I'll send these slides along. We've got lots of references as usual, so you can double check what I've got to say to you. But that's what I've got to say to you. We know what they're going to do. We know what they plan to do. We know how they plan to do it. We know that it would be disaster for our country. I'm ready to take
Thanks,
questions.
Ed. I've got some questions for you. I just want to add one thing. Most of what Ed talked about here exemplifies what one of the basic tenets of the current ultra conservative, is they want to monetize everything for private. So if you look at everything that Ed talked about, that's one of the overriding goals in every one of those things that Ed talked about. So first question was, how did the Project 2025 plan become public?
Oh, they just made it public. They're very, you see, they're trying to rally the folks on the right. So the Heritage Foundation and all the right-wing groups that put this plan together did it publicly. They asked everybody to jump on the bandwagon, and they asked everybody who would be willing to be part of administration to step forward. They're just doing this out in the open, and they're not hiding it. They're not hiding it at all, and they're using it to solicit donations, using it to solicit ideas and volunteers who would be part of an incoming administration, and they're just being very upfront about that. I mean, I like that. I'm happy they're doing that because it means they're not trying to do it in secret. It means that I don't have to dig hard to find this stuff. This stuff is all out in the open. Anybody who looks for it can find it. And when I send the slides, there'll be all those links there, and you can all look for it yourself. So they're not hiding this at all. They're very blatant about it. They are saying, here's what we're going to do. Here's why you should vote for the Republican side, because when you vote the Republican side, you're going to get all this stuff, and here's how we're going to do it. So there's no hiding at all in this.
Thanks, Ed. I should have announced that question was from Susan Labars. Next question is from Debbie Dudek. Can the Project 2025 be implemented even if Trump doesn't win?
Well, I mean, a lot of Project 2025 depends upon executive order. So a lot of it, I think the bottom line is no, because most of it would never get through Congress. The whole process here is involved in sidestepping congressional approval, in doing things through executive order. So the whole thing really depends on Trump winning. I mean, if Trump loses, this goes down the drain, and that's why we need to understand what's at stake here. What's at stake here is handing the GOP an ability with a compliant president who will just sign anything that they bring forth, versus a situation. Look, if Biden wins, my view is that the worst that could happen is that the Democrats take the House, they lose the Senate, and they have the presidency. So then you've got divided Congress, but at least you've got a divided Congress where the Senate has been able to move bipartisan legislation. It depends on who the leadership is in the Senate. McConnell would never support bipartisan legislation. If we can get a Senate leader who, like Michael's, the leadership in the House has recently supported bipartisan legislation. If you could get a Senate leadership that would support bipartisan legislation and have a House run by the Democrats and a Democrat president, you could see some real improvements for our country. But if Trump wins, he'd veto. If Trump wins, he would attempt to implement the stuff we just talked about through executive order. If Trump wins and you have a House in the hands of the Democrats and a Senate in the hands of Republicans, it could very well be that you'd find nothing coming out of Congress because Trump would veto anything that would be too blue. So I think that the real issue here is that this stuff can be implemented if Trump wins, and it has almost no chance of being implemented if Trump loses. That's how I see it.
Thank you, Ed. I think you just answered the next question from Garrick, which was, if Trump wins, can he implement Project 2025 without approval of Congress?
Now that's tricky. if Congress gets their back up, and if people, um, it's really tricky. If Congress gets their back up, and if we had Democrats in control on both sides of Congress, I think that Congress could effectively block him. If the Republicans control Congress and control the Senate, and I fear there's a good chance they will, then Congress wouldn't necessarily block him. Then there's the judiciary. The kind of things that he wants to do through executive action can be challenged in court. And the problem there is we've got a really right wing Supreme Court. So maybe we could block some of the things, but eventually they might get approved by the Supreme Court. So I think that if Trump wins, he, depending on what happens in the Senate, he has a good chance of implementing some of this stuff, given the fact that the blue side might not control the Senate, and they've packed the Supreme Court very far to the right. So I think that they see the opportunity that if Trump wins, they can get some of this stuff through. And that should really scare the crap out of us.
Ed, there's another, thank you, Ed. Another question from John in Ecuador. I think this is going to take some study before you respond, but it says perhaps you could compare Project 2025 with examples from impunity covered in Chicago Council for Global Affairs study. There's a link in the chat. I'll probably want to take a look at that, unless you're aware of that study.
I am not aware of it. I would have to research that. So I really can't. I can't directly address that right now. I will take a look at it and see what I can say, and perhaps I can have some comments on that going out when they send the slides and recordings out.
Thanks, Ed. Another one from Gilda Johnson. Why are the Democrats not making this aware to the public? I put it out in the media.
I'm a Democrat. I'm making aware of the public. That's why I'm here. I mean, I don't know what to say to that. I mean, it's a lot of times at the national level, the guys like Joe Biden, they want to talk about what they've done. They want to talk about why you should vote for them. They don't want to talk about why you shouldn't vote for the other guy. I think it comes more to us at the grassroots level to talk more about why you can't vote for the other guy. I mean, we all know. I think I would imagine that most everybody here knows that Joe has done a lot of good things for our country. But you kind of talk. You're kind of preaching to the choir when you say that. But when we talk about the bad things that could happen on the other side, we have the opportunity to talk to our family members, to talk to our friends. We've got the ability to move this message in a way, in a grassroots way, that the top level politicians really can't do. I mean, Joe can't be talking about bad. He doesn't talk about the court cases going on. He doesn't talk about Trump. He talks about the good things he can do and the good things that our platform does for the country. I think it comes more to our grassroots people to talk about the dangers on the other side. So that's why I'm doing this presentation, and I'll be glad to do it as many times as I can to as many people as I can.
Yeah, Ed, thanks. Yeah, I don't think we can count on the media to pick this up and explain it. You can see the detail that Ed has gone through, and you've probably only gone through 30% of what's in that 900-page document.
Yeah.
So
any other questions we have, or any other points of discussion we'd like to cover?
It's more of a comment, Ed. It's from Deborah Baker. It says Project 2025 will not go away. It will hang around for the next Republican to pick up and choose parts.
That's an important point, and thank you for bringing it up, because I've heard people say Trump's going to lose, and that's going to be the end of it. The MAGA people are going to go away. They're going to crawl back under a rock. No, that's not what's going to happen. You see, the factors that Trump has pandered to and has leveraged. These factors are in our country. There are people in our country who don't like the fact that white Christian nationalists will be a minority someday. And Trump leverages that stuff. You hear him every day. He talks about how the immigrants are vermin and how they're polluting the blood of our nation and all this fascist kind of talk. The people who respond to that stuff are going to still be there 3 or 4 years from now, even when we beat Trump and some other politician can leverage those fears. And I'm afraid to say it might even be a Democrat that leverages those fears next time. So the danger we have in our society, where people are afraid of where our evolution is taking us to a more perfect union, a union where everybody has an equal vote, no matter what your race, no matter what your religion. There are people that don't like that, and they're still going to be around, and politicians can still leverage that stuff. So I'm worried about this. The people who think about our politics are worried about political instability until we get to the point where we really are truly a multiracial democracy. And this is not a short-term thing. This is something we have to battle for the long term. And those of us who really espouse the principles of our founders, that all men are created equal and that all people must be equal under the law. That wasn't the case when the country was founded. Only white males could vote. We've moved closer and closer and closer to that through time, through amending our constitution, through passing laws, and we have to keep doing it. We have to keep pushing for the country our founders envisioned, where all people get an equal vote and all people are equal under the law. And this whole pushback against that stuff that you see in this fascist talk about some people are vermin and polluting the blood of our nation, we have to get past that. We have to strive for a more perfect union. And I'm sorry if I'm ranting, but that's really how I feel.
Thanks, Ed. And I think we all need to realize that as crazy as some of the statements that we hear, we have to believe every one of them, because they will try to implement every one of these, even though we think it's crazy. So Ori Pennick has a question or a comment. Project 2025 is an example of structural racism. That's my faux pas. Fascism, structural fascism.
It's kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, the way that the fascists back in 1935 were gaining power was by leveraging racial fears. There were in Nazi Germany, there was racial fears about the Jews. What you see now is the same exact kind of thing. Racial fears about immigrants. Immigrants are vermin. They're not human. They're polluting the blood of our nation. That's the same stuff. That's all fascism speaking aloud in our country today. And Project 2025 is just trying to put lipstick on that pig. Is trying to make it respectable. And everything you see in there has to do with upholding the old ways where white Christian nationalists were in charge of the country, and the old they say, let's get rid of CRT, let's get rid of DEI, let's get rid of social justice. Come on, when you get rid of social justice, you're being a fascist. You're just saying the racism embedded in our country must continue, because that's how the economy has succeeded. Back in the Civil War, the South resisted ending slavery because their economy depended upon it. So yeah, the this is all related back to a fascist point of view. People are leveraging racial fears, religious fears to gain political power, and in doing so, they are stopping our progress to a more perfect union.
Thanks, Ed. Another comment along those lines is a few years ago, um, Trump made a comment about Kim Jong-un, North Korea leader, that when he speaks, his people listen and they sit up at attention. And then Trump added, "I wish my people would do that."
Yeah, yeah.
Then, when he was questioned by the reporter, he said, "I was just joking." Do
Nonsense.
not
He's
believe
not
that.
joking. He's not joking. He constantly lauds dictators and strongmen, and he sees himself as a strong man. He sees, I know where our country should go. I know my people love me. I know my people will go with me where we think we should go, which is pretty much all bullshit. But the fact is, in North Korea, when he speaks, people sit up because he knows that they'll be killed if they don't sit up. He knows that uh, Kim Jong Il is a strong dictator. Xi Jinping is pretty much a strong dictator. Putin is certainly a strong dictator. And these are all the guys that Trump, Orban, these are all the guys that Trump admires. Says they can get their way because they're strong guys, and I should be the strong guy here. And you know what? There are some people in our country that would rather have a strong guy than a constitution, because if they have a strong guy instead of a constitution, then they won't lose their country. That's the danger. The danger is we have people who think they're losing their country, the country they stole from the Native Americans. They think they're losing their country. Well, let me tell you, they've been losing their country since day one, because on day one, only white male landowners could vote. And we have gone so far away from that. Anybody can vote. Women can vote. Non-landowners can vote. Non-whites can vote. We're losing that original country over and over and over again. And the few people who want to stop losing the country and would rather have a dictator are the people we are worried about here tonight.
So yeah, another question from Ken Olson. It said or it was a statement and a question. Trump lost last time and didn't go away. What are the chances that he will go away this next time? And somebody responded, jail.
I don't think jail's in the picture. The guy's got lifetime Secret Service protection. I can't imagine how he's going to end up in jail. You know what? I don't care. I think that a couple of good felony convictions is enough. As long as he loses the next election, I'm fine. Uh, and the fact is that the people he's pandering to, yes, they won't go away. They'll still be there. Somebody else can still rise up and pander to them and use them for political power. And yes, that's a problem we have to deal with in our country. And just because we got to defeat Trump, we have to stop this Project 2025 from being implemented. But even when you do that, you're not done. This is a fight for the rest of our damn lives, as far as I'm concerned, considering my age. And we just have to buck up and do it. Damn it.
So comment from Kerry Shug. Unless Republicans lose so badly, which he says is unlikely, that the party dies and is reborn, then 2025 might go into hiding. I don't think it'll go away, but it might go underground.
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, you see, part of the problem is the way we elect legislators. We've got these gerrymandered districts. Look back to 2022. In 2022, 83% of our legislators were effectively elected in the primary because they were elected in primary districts where the party in power was sure to win due to gerrymandering. And in the 88%, 83% of our legislators were therefore elected by only 8% of our population. That kind of crap is going to continue. It's going to mean that a few radicals on either the left or the right are going to put people into the House of Representatives. The House of Representatives is going to continue to be dysfunctional as long as we have these gerrymandered districts that will elect radicals on either side. That's not going to go away. I mean, people are happy with the Speaker of the House who allowed a bipartisan success. That was great, but he's going to be out of office next time because he's going to get primary, and there'll be a MAGA rep in his place. The House is going to be a mess until we find our way past this gerrymandering problem. And I don't think the problems are going to subside. I think the problems are going to continue to be there year after year. We're going to continue to have political dysfunction until we can reform our political process so that a few radical people in a partisan primary in a gerrymandered district can control the legislators in the House of Representatives. That's a long-term problem I've talked about in other presentations.
Yeah. So thanks, Ed. Another question from Russ Ziegler. This is, what do they want to be the end results? What will this country look like after they are done with this structure and the reform?
So by they, I presume you mean the folks that wrote the Project 2025 plan. Well, they want the country to be what it was 200 years ago. They want the country to be run by white Christian nationalists. They want it to be controlled by business. They want it to be the country it was when the founders created it. The founders were the richest people on the continent. The founders owned owned the land, the business, and they owned people. So the Republican ideal is that corporations run America, and corporations create a strong economy, and that corporate owners and corporate executives reap the benefits of that economy, and that we all work for them. And that's the kind of government that the right wing is allowing to be bought. They might not. They use the excuse of limiting immigration, of limiting reproductive rights, and opposing abortion. They use these excuses to build the country they want. But the country they want is a country where people like Elon Musk run the country, and we all just work for them. So
here's a comment from Ernie Rosado. I think he has studied this Project 2025. He says, the book they're selling you, click and scroll down to the interactive headings and then click on them. Project 25 is in the process of adding opacity to the project. The big home site used to have more transparency, but stuff has been removed. Explore it now while you still can.
I explored it while I could. Maybe
Yeah.
they are trying. Maybe they do understand that we're listening to them, and that we're believing them, and that we're gearing up to oppose them. And maybe they're trying to hide what they really want to do. Fine, it's too late. I mean, you can't hide what you posted in the past. There are archives that will keep track of older versions of web pages. So you can change your web page to hide what you said in the past, but the archive still has the older version of your web page. So no, you can't hide who you are.
So there are links in the chat that people are putting. For example, Ernie put the link to the Project 2025. When we send the slides out, will we send out some of these links? Can we do that?
Well, we can send the chat. When we send the slides and recordings, we can also send the entire chat. So I will ask Bill to make sure we do that. I've got a bunch of links in the presentation. I think that a lot of the links that are in the chat are probably already in the presentation, but I'm happy to have the other links people are posting. That's great. Thank you very much.
Yeah, Christine has put in, Christine is a time traveler. She said Project 2025 is being captured on the Wayback Machine
That's exactly what I was talking about.
with the link.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was talking about. The Wayback Machine is a great tool because it shows you earlier versions of websites, so that if somebody has published something and then they want to change it, the original published website is still there on the Wayback Machine. So they can't hide, they cannot disavow what they've said in the past. It's all out there.
That is news to me. That is interesting.
Oh, you didn't know about the Wayback Machine?
I did not. No.
Oh, you didn't watch the cartoon program that had the Wayback Machine.
So here is a comment from Amy S. It said it's weak men actually with a front. That's Project 2025. That's a comment.
Well, they're not all men. I mean, there are women there, but and you know what? I don't think they're all that weak. Uh, if we're not careful, they could be really strong.
Yeah.
If we don't pull together and make this happen, they could win. And then we could see some of this. It's hard to imagine all this stuff can happen. But we could see some of it happen. And even any of that stuff that I described to you happening would be bad for us as a nation.
Ed, somebody wants to, Charles Paddock wants to know if he can get in touch with you so you can present to his group.
You have my email address, ed.spire@gmail.com. I'm happy to reproduce this presentation for any group, 4 or 5, whatever 3 or 4 are gathered, there I will be. That's another reference. I mean, in the Episcopal Church, it's wherever 3 or 4 are gathered, there will always be a fifth, but that's a different kind of fifth.
I'm trying to read some of these comments are more than just a few sentences. So let me read this one from Sherry Marchi. She says, I like to zoom way out and look at what we're facing from a 30,000-foot view. From there, I can see that our society is sick. We need to go to the root of what ails us and begin healing it from that direction. If we're deeply unhappy, our minds look for something to blame it on. All of these guys are acting the unresolved trauma in each of us. And basically, I have to. Trump is a marketing guy.
I can address that.
Yeah.
I don't think our society is anywhere near as sick as how it's being represented in our politics.
Yes.
So, and this gets back to how we elect our legislators. The fact of the matter is, let me say this again. I said this earlier. I'll say it again. In 2022, 83% of our legislators were elected by 8% of our voters. Think about that. What that's saying is what you see in Congress is only representing 8% of our population. 92% of our population are not being represented in the acrimony and the tussle and the back and the forth and the let's kill this guy and let's do this and not that you see in the House of Representatives. That is not so much a problem in our society as it's a problem in our political process. Our political process is enabling 8% of our radicals to look like the whole country when 92% of us don't look like that. That's the problem. The society is not all that sick. Our politics is all that sick because of the way we elect our congressmen.
Yeah, follow up from Ernie on the Wayback Machine. He's saying it's under attack under the copyright laws. So stuff is disappearing from it. And Christine says, very true.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that. I would think that if you publish something on the internet, you've just put it in the public domain. So I think that needs to be to be pursued in the courts. My feeling is that come on, if you speak openly, if I get a recording of you saying something, do you have the right to stop me from repeating that because it's your words? If you publish something on Twitter or on the internet, do you have the right to stop somebody else from pointing out that you have said this in the past? I I I find that hard to believe. But the law can be unusual. That's not the original phrase.
Yeah, Ori says that this is an unending fight for our democracy. And
Yes.
I think our call to action is get involved. Democracy is not a spectator sport. We all need to find a politician that we can trust and work to get that person elected.
Get involved. Get involved to ensure that the politicians that we trust get elected, and the politicians that are just pandering to the dark side of our society don't get elected. And that really is the call to action tonight. It's 8:20. How are we doing here?
There's a few more. They're just their comments. I think best handle just sending out the chat to everybody. So hang on. Yeah, copy of the presentation be sent out to everybody. So everybody's, if you're not following the chat. So
yeah, we're going to send the slides, the chat, and a recording to everybody who registered. And there were a number of people who registered, people of the Jewish faith. I'm sorry to say that I didn't realize that tonight was Passover when we scheduled this meeting, and I had to apologize to a number of people for scheduling this on a date when they wanted to come but could not because of other obligations. So I think we all need to be more sensitive about that kind of thing. But we will send the recording, the chat, and the slides to everybody who registered, whether they showed up or not, because we understand how much people care about this issue. This has been one of the most attended issues that I've given. I really appreciate all of your concern and attention to this issue. Thank you very much for being here.
And so everybody, you've been informed. So when you have a chance to push back on some of these comments, I hope you have some of the background from Ed's presentation tonight to push back on some of this. Ed or Bill and I will be attending a meeting tomorrow morning that I expect this to come up. It's a group with about 20 to 25, I think, card-carrying MAGAs.
Are you talking about the group in Arlington Heights? I'm not going.
The Schaumburg Current Events Group.
I've had enough of those guys.
Yeah. Bill and I go every other week, and we try to keep them on the straight and narrow. We try to correct them.
Take the message forward. Thank you.
Bill, you're muted.
Well, we defend democracy, and Jim does it much better than I do. But it is if you enjoy a good tussle, stop in at 10 a.m. at the not Walker Brothers.
It's just the Walker Pancake House, north of Higgins, north of the Gulf Road, I think.
Yes, and it goes on for a couple 3 hours, and the MAGA people, they just hate it when you bring up facts and then you bring up contrary opinions. So it is great. Join us if you can.
Yeah. For example, one of the comments at the last meeting was that Biden declared Easter Trans Visibility Day. And I said, when did he say that? Well, he talked about Trans Visibility Sale. No. I said, when did he declare Easter is Trans Visibility Day? Of course, they have no answer for that. They can't answer it.
No, there is an answer. The answer is he declared that day of the month to be Transvisibility Day, and that day of the month happens to be Easter. And you know
Yeah.
what? That day of the month every year is Transvisibility Day, and it just so happens that Easter falls on that day this year. So, you know, you can make whatever excuses you want to make the other side look bad. And I'm just not interested in playing that game that much these days. You guys go have fun.
Oh,
Yeah.
but Ed is so fun to go there and challenge him.
Yeah. Your idea of fun and mine were two different things.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Ed, I'm sure you're watching your chat, and as people are leaving, they are congratulating you for another well done presentation. A nice combination between presentation and Q&A. Great job. Thank you so much, Ed. And thank you to all the people who are attending. Let's get the word out.
Just real quick, there's a question from Judy Slate. She said the Omega restaurant. No, it's the Walker Pancake House.
Pancake House.
It's on Roselle Road. It's about a block north of Golf Road.
Yeah,
It's on the west side of the street in a strip mall.
Yeah. All right.
So, join
Thanks
us.
y'all for coming. I really appreciate the attention, and go forth. Oh, Sherry's got her hand up. Sherry.
Hey, I just wanted to bring your attention to a link I put in the chat.
And that link is about what, Sherry?
Yeah,
I'm in
what's
kind
the
of a
link?
noisy place right now, so I'm muted. It's a link to messaging for based on Annette Shankar Osorio's work.
Okay.
From another Indivisible chapter that is a wonderful resource if you want to have something on the tip of your tongue to say about different issues.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no, she's great.
Okay. Thanks y'all very much. Man, it was a great turnout tonight. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Jim and Dawn.
All right.
Thanks,
You
Ed.
got
Thanks.
you got 80% of the 125 that RSVP'd, Ed.
So it wasn't over 100, and you didn't